Celtic Myths and Legends by T.W. Rolleston. Chapter 8, Myths and Tales of the Cymry. The Wonderful Head. Well, don't we all consider ourselves as having a wonderful head? Certainly the most important head for anybody is their own. In the end, all Irishmen were slain, and all but 7 of the British, besides Bronn, who was wounded in the foot with a poisoned arrow. Among the 7 were Pryderi and Menawyddan. Bran then commanded them to cut off his head, and take it with you, he said, to London, and there bury it in the White Mount. It's where the Tower of London currently is, looking towards France, and no foreigner shall invade the land while it is there. On the way, the head will talk to you, and be a pleasant company as ever in life. In Harlech ye will be feasting 7 years, and the birds of Rhiannon will sing to you, and at Gwales in Penfro you will be feasting 80 years, and the head will talk to you, and be uncorrupted till ye open the door looking towards Cornwall. After that ye may no longer tarry, but set forth to London, and bury the head. Then the 7 cut off the head of Bronn, and went forth, and Bronwen with them, to do his bidding. But when Bronwen came to a land at Aber Allow, she cried, "Woe is me that I was ever born! 2 islands have been destroyed because of me." And she uttered a loud groan, and her heart broke. They made her a 4-sided grave on the banks of the Allow, and the place was called Rhenius Bronwen to this day. And the stories in Ireland and Wales seem to always attach themselves to burial places. In 1813, a funeral urn containing the ashes and half-burnt bones were found in the spot traditionally supposed to be Bronwen's sepulchre. The 7 found that in the absence of Bronn, Caswallawn, son of Bela, had conquered Bretagne and slain the 6 captains of Caradawc. By magic art, he had thrown on Caradawc the veil of illusion, and Caradawc saw only the sword which slew, but not him who wielded it, and his heart broke for grief at the sight. They then went to Harlech, and remained there 7 years, listening to the singing of the birds of Rhiannon. All the songs they had ever heard were unpleasant compared thereto. The sounds of nature certainly surpass what we can do in some ways. Then they went to Gwales in Penfro, and found a fair and spacious hall overlooking the ocean. When they entered it, they forgot all the sorrow of the past and all that had befallen them, and remained there 80 years in joy and mirth, the wondrous head talking to them as if it were alive. And bards call this the entertaining of the noble head. 3 doors were in the hall, and one of them, which looked to Cornwall, and to Aberhenvellion, was closed, but the other 2 were open. At the end of the time, Hywelyn, son of Gwyn, said, "Evil betide me if I do not open the door to see if what was said is true." And he opened it, and at once remembrance and sorrow fell upon them, and they set forth at once for London, and buried the head in the White Mount, where it remained until Arthur dug it up, for he would not have the land defended but by the strong arm, and this was the third fatal disclosure in Bretagne. So ends this wild tale, which is evidently full of mythological elements, the key of to which has long been lost. Well, or has it? Can you interpret and understand and use these things for yourself? The touches of northern ferocity which occur in it have made some critics suspect the influence of Norse or Icelandic literature in giving it its present form. The character of Evnissyen would certainly lend countenance to this conjecture. The typical mischief maker, of course, occurs in purely Celtic sagas, but not commonly in combination with the heroic strain shown in Evnissyen's end. Nor does the Irish poisoned tongue ascend to anything like the same height of demonic malignity. And some of these definitely would sound different in Welsh and stuff.